What's going on, traders? It's Ricky with TechBot Solutions. Thank you guys again so much for joining us for another Sunday Stock Talk. So for those that are joining us for the first time, Sunday Stock Talks are pretty much just recaps on last week's trading, talking about this upcoming week. It allows me to answer some of your questions, in real time, as well as we kind of just get a better understanding of what to expect for this upcoming week. Right, so the market opens or is open Monday through Friday. So the market's going to open 6:30 Mountain Standard Time. I want to take this time and to thank every single mother out there. Thank you for all that it is that you guys do for us, and that's really just it. I wasn't able to spend Mother's Day or my Mother's Day with my mom since she's in Orange County, California, and I'm over here in Arizona. But for all those that can hang out with your guys' mothers, feel I don't know, but unfortunately I wasn't able to hang out with mine. But that in no way does that minimize this whole experience. So always make sure that you thank your mother for what it is that they do for you, because I believe their jobs are probably one of the most difficult and just not appreciated as much as it really should be. So I think I can say that as growing from a teenager to now being 22, I definitely didn't appreciate my mom as much as I should have for everything that she's done for me. So thank you guys all for joining us, and I'm going to try to make it as quick as I can to make sure that I can get you guys back to your families, because I know you guys aren't going to want to spend all this time with me. But pretty much, let's talk about last week. Personally, from last week, we upload daily recaps if you guys aren't too familiar with that. I was doing well, and I believe, out of my 3 day trades for the week through my Robinhood account, I was doing well. I was in the green, but it was me not locking in my profits that led me to have a red week. And it really came down to me not being too familiar in a sense, although it says week 3, it's actually week 2, because the first week, we started initially in May, and this week 3, coming on to week 3, something that I'm really going to focus on, and I think a huge area of opportunity, is locking in profits realistically. And I know I talk about it so much. So for this $1,000 challenge to convert your account from $1,000 to $20,000 with the power of compounding interest, you need to achieve 2.33% growth per trade, 3 times a week, 3 times a week, and then do that 4 times a month and 12 times a year. That will assist you in this growth, right? We have that through the TechBot Solutions Facebook platform. We have that file that you guys have access to, and it's called the growth plan. So you can simply search for it under the little search bar, and then that will populate, and that can accommodate in the sense of the growth. So I've been doing a very poor job in actually locking in my profits. Some days I was up as high as 4 or 5%. And I didn't lock them in, and that's a huge area of opportunity. But the reason why was because I talked about that when I had a little bit over $25,000 in my Robinhood account. And let's say I'd buy in with a $3,000, which is normally what I would risk. If it drops a little bit lower, I can just buy more at the lower price and then sell it for a profit, because I averaged down, and then I can sell when it's actually rising. With this $1,000 challenge, what I usually find myself doing is, if I buy in and it drops a little bit lower, I really don't have, the capital with this $1,000 challenge to average down and then to sell for a profit. And to have gotten in for a lower price. That was just kind of something that I was encountering, that I was very comfortable with doing when I did have that, in a sense, account that didn't care about the PDT rule. But now that I have the PDT rule, I really understand the importance of locking in profits, staying consistent, and staying realistic. And although it has potential to hit 5-10%, if you don't want to lock in your profits at that specific moment, because you see that it has more potential, then following with a trailing stop loss or following with a stop loss, although it's going to be a little bit more difficult with this Robinhood account, it definitely is possible, and it definitely will assist you in staying in the green. And that's one of the biggest things and the biggest areas of opportunity myself, right, that I can improve on. And I'm sure you guys see, based on my live recaps, that you guys can say that's a huge area of opportunity for myself. Now, the only thing that I want you guys to do is, I'm talking about my own point of view and my own in a sense, best practices and mistakes. I want to make sure that my viewers and all you guys don't just learn from me, but learn from everyone else. That's why we started this group of TechBot Solutions. So feel free to comment down below your mistakes and your best practices for last week and what you're looking forward to this upcoming week. And although it might sound, well, why waste my time in doing that? I really think, the whole thought process and you writing out, your mistake and actually writing out, what you plan on fixing, mentally you're actually telling yourself what you need to improve. So when this week actually comes, although you know you shouldn't do it, now you've written it down, and psychologically you actually know that you shouldn't be doing it, so you have a higher possibility or probability of not actually repeating that same mistake. I received multiple messages about numerous traders within our group of TechBud Solutions saying that this 2.33% growth per day has really helped them out, because it clarifies to them on how important compounding interest is. And although we used to shoot for 10%, realistically, just that 2 point, anything over like 2%, just locking that in the long run, it ends up adding up, especially if you continue to, in a sense, compound your overall account and you reinvest it in whatever it is that you're trading. I can't stress that enough, and how important that is, and how important it is to cut losses. Those are the two biggest things that I want to make sure that you guys focus on, is understanding where you're buying, where you're selling, and where you're cutting your losses, and to lock in profit, and if not, follow with a trailing stop loss to stay in the green. Because I feel like that's one of the most discouraging things can encounter, is when they're in the red and or when they're in the green, and then having to cut their losses in the red, and just hoping that they can get back to that break-even point. And sometimes even getting back to that break-even point may take more than a couple of days, and you definitely don't want to hold these penny stocks overnight. But pretty much what I want to talk about, one last thing, is although we've been getting a lot of positive, comments about this $1,000 challenge, I've also gotten some negative comments, and I'm not afraid, or ashamed to share it. Pretty much one of the negative comments wasn't necessarily about the challenge, but was about an individual himself, and him saying, rules, I've been, not staying consistent, and I've been greedy, and I've been losing, I've lost like 30, 40, 50% of my account. I'm not too sure exactly what it is that he said. But he says, I really don't think this, penny stock thing, is my market. And I, responded, I completely understand, if it's not something that you want to pursue. But what you just told me is, you listed all the mistakes that you've been making. That, don't you think, if you, don't make those mistakes, that can lead to your success? I'm still waiting on a response for him. I still need to go ahead and check the messages that I've been going back and forth. But if you yourself have felt that, you've been making a lot of mistakes, you've been, seeing a lot of red days, but it's because you're breaking your rules, because you're not staying consistent, because you're getting greedy and not locking in profits, then what should you be doing? Well, you should be doing the opposite of what you're saying. You should lock in your profits. You should follow your rules. You should cut losses short. It's simple. For someone to achieve that, especially when when getting and there's all this hype behind trading. That's one of the biggest things that I want to avoid, and why I talk about avoiding hype as much as possible. The reason why is it's not very healthy to encounter hype, especially when you don't know how to just deal with it. And that's one of the biggest things. There's a lot of stress that comes with hype, especially if you don't know where you're buying, where you're selling, and where you're cutting your losses. Then I feel you should take a step back, maybe try simulation trading, maybe try paper trading, so you have no real monetary risk, but still gain all that experience of knowledge. And TD Ameritrade is an amazing platform that offers that for free. So there's really no reason you shouldn't want to get into trading penny stocks because of the risk, when you have a platform and a resource out there, and that can help you gain all this experience while you're learning. And by the meantime, you can grow your account that can accommodate the type of trader you want to be. So by the time you are experienced, by the time you know what it is that you're doing, you can jump right in, and you have, the education, you have the experience. Now you just have to plan and execute. And then it's going to be a lot easier for you to make this transition to a successful trader. So that's it all about last week. Now let's go ahead and talk about a little bit about this week. For all those that are chatting in the live chat, I am going to be answering your question, technical analysis, within this live stream, but that's going to be just right after this little segment. So so for this upcoming week, I kind of just talked about it on my areas of opportunity. I'm going to do exactly myself, what I was doing wrong. And what I was doing wrong was I wasn't locking in my profits. I wasn't cutting losses as soon as I should. And I wasn't really in the right mindset, because I was distracted last week for certain things for trading. And I'm going to make sure for my 3-day trade for my Robinhood account for this $1,000 challenge that I'm going to try my best consistent, stay realistic, and go according to my plan. You guys have really been enjoying, my live recaps. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback. One of the first or only really negative feedbacks that I've been receiving is, it's a little scuffy, right? The quality of the video isn't the best. That's definitely something that I'm going to be working on. I'm going to contact my internet provider and just faster speeds, and I hope that can accommodate and make the quality of these live streams a little bit better. So I hope you guys are excited for that. And that's really just it. It's really simple when you can analyze yourself as a trader, or yourself as an investor, and yourself as a person. See what you're doing wrong, take a step back, create a solution for it, right? Almost doing just the opposite. It's pretty simple when it comes to trading. And then testing that, hypothesis and seeing, well, I wasn't, cutting my losses where I should have. How about I try cutting my losses where I should and see how that leads to my success? Wasn't locking in my profits before. How about I lock in my profits and see how that, works out with this $1,000 challenge? It's all about trial and error and analyzing, understanding your mistakes, and then going back and repeating. It's this repetitive process, but the biggest thing is to have the motivation to not give up and the discipline to stay consistent and stay realistic. So start performing some technical analysis within 5 top stocks that were suggested for me to perform a technical analysis on, and that was within the Tech Club Solutions Facebook platform. So if you guys want to be a part of Tech Club Solutions, the link is one of the first links in the description. It'll guide you to our Facebook group. Once you get accepted, we have a series of links within that, and they'll give you access to the group chat platform. And then that will allow you to network, real time with all these, thousands of members that we have. I believe we're a little bit, I think we just hit a little bit over 17,000 members now worldwide. So I can't thank you guys enough. We hit a little bit over 14,000 subscribers within this YouTube channel. So I can't thank you guys enough. It's unreal. But yeah, every, I believe, Friday or Saturday, we post, what stocks you guys would like me to analyze. And I just kind of just share my whole thought process on, what it is that you guys are suggesting me for me to analyze. So I'm going to go ahead and go on the Facebook platform and then go from there. So. Alrighty, I apologize. So I'm being told that, or one of the comments, you guys can leave him alone. You guys don't have to worry about him. I removed him off the group. There's no reason to waste your time, but just people commenting saying that I'm nerdy. I already know that, so. All right. Alrighty. So this is pretty much it. I'm gonna go to the poll. It was AMD, so I'm gonna write that down. NAK, Snap, GSAT, and MTBC. And again, if you guys want access to be able to, in a sense, judge or create a poll option, feel free to again, click the link down below, and then you guys will be given the option to put in your own feedback and your own suggestions. So hopefully this upcoming week, I can perform a technical analysis on the specific stock that you guys would like me to do so. So I'm going to go back and share my screen and then get right to it. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and start off with AMD, as that is the first pick. So again, this is just my whole thought process when analyzing a stock. I am a day trader, so I usually like to perform a technical analysis really on the past 5 days, getting a better understanding on how it's been working or how it's been moving, right? And then go to a 2-day analysis. And this is probably a very common question that I receive, and it's how do I identify 10% potential? And again, this is just my style of performing technical analysis. In no way does this mean that this is how you have to perform them. But pretty much what I like to look for, movements and just fluctuations in price within the past 2 days. Because if I'm a day trader, realistically, if it's done it within the past 2 days, it's most likely going to, perform the same, right, based on previous trends that are realistic within the past 2 days, and trade according to that. So what I've been able to see is I like to go a little bit further back just to see how it's been trading and how it's been moving. It's seen a consistent, bounce from the support at $10, and it's seen a consistent upward trend. It hit a resistance here at 1140, saw a downward trend, but it's been seeing that almost every other day. So it opens strong, peaks, and sees a downward trend. And then, after market hours, it saw a peak, great, stayed consistent, saw a peak when the market opened, saw a downward trend, and then rose back up. This one, it saw a drop, but then rose back up. And then this one had a nice rise, big drop, and then it rose back up. So there's quite a bit of pullbacks, and that's really important to understand. Let me go a little bit further back. If I'm not mistaken, this is AMD. So this is actually the company that works with Apple. So they're advanced micro devices. So they're actually a company that works with Apple. When they hit the low at about $9, $10, they were at a 52-week low. It was the lowest that they've been, I think, within the past 12 years, based on this report that I read. And it had a previous support around $13. And if you can see, it had a solid bounce. And we talked about the support that it had at $10. So I know a lot of people within our swing trading group chat are actually swing trading this and hoping and realistically analyzing that, it has the potential to come back up to this $13 mark. And from this, $10 buy point, 998, 990, that's 30%, 40% potential. So this can definitely be one that can be extremely profitable, right? And has consistently within the past 5 days seen an upward trend. So based on these 5 days, seen a consistent upward trend. What do you expect? Well, it had, plateaued at this $10 and then started seeing this rise. Is it always going to continue seeing this rise? No, you have to be realistic. You have to understand that it's not always going to be 100%, but based on this trends, it shows pretty, consistent to show an upward trend. So understanding that there's pullbacks and understanding that, there's bounces and you ride it back up, what is there that you can, kind of expect for this market open? Well, what I'd like to see is if we're going to see an upward trend, there's a resistance here at, $11.30. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my alert. You simply right click it. And I want to put when it goes above 1130 because now I know it broke resistance. There is another resistance, its peak at 1140. So that's another one that I want to make sure that I identify. Now, I also want to make sure that I am aware if it breaks support. So its current support based on these bounces that it's had is really at this $11 mark. And I'm going to put, if it breaks below, staying realistic, right? But something that I really want to focus on are based on these drops that it's had, right? It tends to, RSI is something that I try to focus on. And when it's below 35 RSI, I tend to find these stocks a little bit more attractive. Right now, we're seeing a little bit, over 42. What I'm going to most likely be watching for AMD is for a pullback. I want to make sure that I get it on the rise. So, right as the market opens, if there's nice momentum, there's nothing wrong with jumping in and selling for profit. But understanding that this is not a very cheap, stock. This is $11.26 stock, meaning that I need to see about, $1.30 worth of, or $1.20 worth of profit to hit that 10%, right? So realistically, 20 to 30 cents of profit is what I'm going to need to see that 2 to 3%, profit. So I'm going to need it a little bit closer to this $11 mark, 11.10, and then catch it on the rise. And that's pretty much my breakdown with AMD. But I definitely think that there is going to be a lot of potential based on this 5-day analysis, seeing a consistent upward trend. So something that we can actually draw is I'm going to go with the trend line and actually talk about this consistent upward trend that it's been seen and kind of expect or see or analyze where this next pop can be. But this is definitely one that I'm going to be following up with Monday morning. So NAK is the next one. NAK had a solid drop. This is one that we actually traded on Friday. It's one that I was up on and then broke support at $2 and then saw a consistent downward trend from there. It built a really strong support around 180. So NAK, well, we know NAK reacts very well with volume. Right now, the RSI indicator is showing that it's relatively at a high point, and this was during aftermarket hours. So really, we're gonna have to see how it reacts. We know that there's a support at $1.80. So I'm gonna put when it goes below $1.80. It has pretty much a low. If you can see it it had a huge pullback, right, or a huge drop at $1.63. When it had a huge drop here, it hit nearly 163, hit 164. So I want to be alerted if it breaks that support that it's built at that area. So usually what you see when it has these solid drops is that you can see that it will slowly start bleeding down to the support and then maybe bounce or break below. So what I want to see for NAK during pre-market hours, and it's one that I'm definitely going to follow up on, is for it to hold above 180. So what that means is that the support at 180 is still valid during pre-market hours on Monday, and hopefully see an upward trend. That we know that there's a resistance at about $2 to $1.96. So understanding that you can follow with the trailing stop loss and realistically lock in profits at around $2, and that would be more than, in a sense, your 10% profit if you catch it at the bounce at 180, and realistically cut losses for myself anything below 180 to minimize loss, because I know it's breaking the support at 180 and most likely can see a downward trend down to the $164 mark. But this is one that I think can be very exciting to trade for this upcoming week. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down, and it's one that I'll follow up on tomorrow morning. So it looks like you guys picked top quality stocks for me to analyze. All right, so Snap is one that saw a huge drop because of just basically the earnings report really wasn't there, so they had a call, didn't do very well, dropped from highs of almost $24, right, or 23.88, all the way down to 16, pretty much 17.07, and it hasn't ever really been at that price since its IPO launch, but no one was actually able to buy at that price. So it was already at a low point, in the $20 mark, but now it had this huge drop. So it's seen a consistent upward trend. There's a current resistance at around 1960. But it's seen a consistent upward trend. So really for this upcoming week, I know our swing traders within the Technical Solutions group chat have been talking about Snapchat, a lot, just because it seems like, something that could be a good hold for it to make its way back up to its old resistance, which is around $23, $24. But we really want to make sure that it consistently sees an upward trend. We saw a huge day out of it on Friday. RSI kind of indicates that it's a little bit more on the overbought side. So I'm going to wait for some pullbacks. It looks like there's more of a support around this $18 mark. And that's really what I'm going to look for. So I'm going to put a alert when it breaks, the support. So there's most likely a support around the $19 mark. So I'm going to put when it breaks below that. And I'm also going to put an alert because you never know. If it breaks above 19.55, we can have a runner and it can see a really nice rise up depending on what happened over the weekend. But I also want to be alerted if it breaks below the support. And I'm pretty much just putting all these alerts on either support or resistance levels and getting a better understanding of what to expect. So I'm going to go back here to draw in, go to price level, and actually draw a line right here at the resistance. There's a current. The reason I drew a line here was because that was a old resistance, came back down, broke that resistance, and is now a new support. So it's not bouncing between that area. So if we see a break below that support, I'd say a stronger support would be around that $18 area. But again, within the past, simply 2-3 days, it's seen a steady, upward momentum. So I can see that this one can easily make its way back up to its $20, $23 mark in just a couple of days, as long as everything stays according to plan, which, you never truly know. But it had a 6% growth day on Friday, which is amazing for a stock that isn't necessarily a penny stock. Now you guys want me to do GSAT. This is not one that I've talked about. I think the reason that you guys are talking about this one is because of the huge rise that it saw from its previous, low of $1.80 to its highs of $2.59. So I'm going to look into the news real quick, kind of see what led to this. And let's see. Don't really see too much. Maybe it's earnings report. It doesn't really show to be an earnings report. Could be that. Okay, so they're talking about a potential sell. Okay, so there's good news. That's really what led to the drop. I'm going to go a little bit further back since I don't know much about this specific stock. 180 days, solid support at 73 cents. Consistently been seeing an upward trend within the past couple of days. And it's hit its peak and it's had really nice rises, right? Really nice peaks, has some pullbacks, and then makes its way back up. So this can definitely be one that can be extremely profitable, but understand that because it has huge rises, if it breaks a current support at around 220, you can see huge drops. So for any of those that are actually looking into GSAT, just know with these nice rises, there's also really big pullbacks. So make sure you have your stop loss to minimize losses. Right now, the current RSI is around 51, if I'm not mistaken. I'd like to get a little bit closer to this $30 RSI, 30 RSI, because it looks like it's have solid bounces there. But again, RSIs are not necessarily always 100% correct. So what I like to use are RSI and SMA to indicate, signs of upward momentum and making sure that the volume is healthy. So I just want to make sure that there's not going to be a lot of sellers on Monday and then see huge pullbacks. But realistically, if that is, just know that with huge pullbacks means that if it makes its way back up, that's huge areas for profit for margin. So I'm going to set my alerts if it breaks the support at around this 225 area when it breaks below, and then follow up to see if it can break above the resistance that I see around this 240 area. But this is definitely one that I think can be extremely profitable, but as well I can have see a huge downward trend as well. So it's just one that I'm going to have to follow up with, but it's one not necessarily that I'm extremely knowledgeable about, so I don't want to say that. So it's just one that I'm going to have to analyze a little bit more on my own time. And then the MTBC is going to be one of the last ones. This is one that we saw a solid support around $2.02 was the overall low, and consistently within the past 10 days, it's been, if I'm not mistaken, this is one that came from a really low point. We're talking about a specific. Yeah, so 29 cents has seen a lot of hype, right? Hit its peak at 184, and I actually see it seeing more of a downward trend, or making its way, back to kind of where it was. It's been breaking supports consistently within the past 3 days, and if it breaks below this $2 mark, just expect a lot of sellers. The next support is most likely going to be around this 170 area, so just be aware of that. But there's nothing wrong with catching it at the drops and waiting for the bounce. And identifying. So pretty much what I'm talking about is, let me be a little bit more clear. What I mean by these huge pullbacks is that it broke the support that it had around here, 240, had huge pullbacks. What I usually wait for is for the RSI to be again around 30, 35, and then for it to show signs of upward momentum. And in doing that, because it had this huge drop, usually what I like to do is sell back at where it was, so around this 240 mark. So if you catch it at this bounce, it hit lows of about 206, 210, and waiting for the bounce. You don't have to get at the lowest point, showing signs of upward momentum, buying in at 220. That's not even necessarily a bad point, and then riding back up, selling again for a profit, and realistically locking in for a profit or following with a trailing stop loss, whatever you justify yourself, right? But signs of upward momentum and RSI indicators and volume are definitely huge indicators that I like to focus on to identify, a successful, healthy stock. But that's pretty much it. So I'm going to go ahead and set my alerts if it goes and breaks below the support, because I think that's going to be very important. And I'm going to follow up with, so let me go ahead, and if it breaks below that, I'm going to follow up to see if it breaks the resistance that it kind of had, if I'm not mistaken, around 215. So when it breaks above that, just to get a better understanding. And this is definitely one that I'm going to write down and follow up with during pre-market hours, just because it's one that I've been trading, quite active. So now that I've answered a majority of your guys' or have performed technical analysis on the stocks that you guys were talking about, I'm going to start answering your questions, and I have the little chat room right here. So I'm sorry if I don't get to all your questions. I'm going to try to answer about 10 and kind of go from there. So go ahead and start answering questions and kind of go from there. So Samer Hamden, I apologize if I'm chopping up your name, is asking, TD Ameritrade is free as well, question mark? Yes, it's actually free. That's actually the live account-based platform that I'm talking about, that I necessarily use. And it's actually, you can do simulation trading for free as well. So that's definitely one that I personally use and would, of course, recommend. So let's see, could you possibly make a video on using the volume studies of the Thinkorswim scanners on these facts and helpful? Of course, so this is by Ryan O'Donnell. So I'm going to go ahead and screenshot your comment. There's too many comments coming at one time, so sorry if I don't get it. There we go. So I screenshotted your suggestion and I'll be sure to follow up with a video on that. Thank you again, Ryan. Hey, Ricky, which large monitor do you use for your trading? So I use, again, the Thinkorswim platform. I really enjoy looking at that. I have a series of different devices. I have like a um, tablet, I have my phone, I have my computer, and I also connect my computer through an HDMI cable to different monitors. So I connect it to like my TV and stuff like that, and it allows me to run, in a sense, different just stocks at the same time. So I find that usually pretty useful when I start to analyze and focus on 3 stocks or more. Usually, if I focus on 1 to 2 stocks, I can simply do that with my computer and my phone. But if it's a little bit more, then I like having different screens to make it a little bit easier for me to keep up to date with those. So thank you again for that question. Okay, so Steve is actually answering your questions, and I want to make sure that it's not just me that answers your guys' questions. If any of you guys see a question that you guys know the answer of, feel free to give your own 2 cents. There's nothing wrong with that, but understand you as the person or receiving the answer. For anyone that is trading, right? In no way should you ever trade based on anyone else's opinion. I can't stress that enough. I always talk about that. Never trade out based on anyone else's opinion. When it's your hard-earned money, it comes down to you as the investor to determine what is a profitable and successful trade. And that's one of the biggest things. There's nothing wrong with being open-minded, but it comes down to you as the investor that's the final decision maker in what you choose to invest in. So please keep that in mind. So I want to start day trading this summer. What platform is the best to start with penny stocks? So this is by Buy2. One of the biggest things that we start off with, or that I suggest the most, is there's nothing wrong with starting right now. You're saying that you want to start during summer. Why not start now with simulation trading, which is paper trading? It's no risk, but you're absorbing and learning just like everyone else. So there's nothing wrong with that. And TD Ameritrade offers an amazing free Thinkorswim paper trading platform that you can actually have access to real-time stocks. All you have to do is actually call a broker. Although it might sound difficult, trust me, it's extremely easy, and I was able to do it at an extremely young age, below the age of 18. So I know that you guys can do it too, especially with all the resources that you guys have access to. So if you guys choose to not get started, later on and prolong this, then it really comes down to you, making excuses on why you're not starting, and how you choose to, dedicate your time. And that really comes down to you. But I really hope that you make the right decision, and only you can determine, what's the right decision. So. All right, let me see. So not free to trade, but the software is. So that's by Nadine Other Half. She's pretty much just answering the Thinkorswim platform. It's free to have access to their platform, but correct, it is not free to trade on their platform. They do charge commissions per buy and sell. When are you coming to Atlanta? I love to visit, and that is by Bundle Up. I'd love to visit. I'm planning on visiting, I believe, 5 different cities within the United States, and I'm actually going to, hopefully, if I can get my passport back in time, travel to Europe to meet some of you, and go ahead and kind of just explore. I wanted to do like a segment or a series of travel and trade, and kind of how trading allows me to now visit different parts of the world, and kind of at an affordable rate. If you guys know anything about me, I'm very realistic, and I don't like throwing money out the door. So I'm very I don't know how to say it, just frugal with my money, and I want to make sure that it goes the farthest way. So I think creating this series of how I trade, and I can travel and trade, and doing it within the means of something that anyone can really do, can be can open a lot of people's eyes. So Charles Schwab is bomb. That's by Mickey Bang Bang. Yeah, definitely. If you like that brokerage company, then why not? I've heard a lot of good things about it. Front double bicep. You guys are hilarious. You guys talk too much about my biceps, but you guys are funny. We'll be making a video later on about that, but I don't like showing necessarily too much, especially with this following that I have that's more about investing. And I don't want to say that it's more serious, but I definitely know that the people that are watching me really value my time, and I really want to value yours. So I like to focus more on, in a sense, stuff that I can assist you with in your success, and then in my social media accounts, which the link is provided for you down below if you guys want to follow me. And then I just post random stuff there. So. All right, let's see here, Ricky. I've been changing and adding things to my strategy. Thoughts and learnings about your video. What would be a good idea to have a max stop loss daily? Well, you have to think. That's a really good question. That's by Jaylene Silva. So she's pretty much, pretty much asking me, what should my max stop loss be? Well, understand and first figure out what should your profit, or where should you be locking in your profits. If your target profit price or percentage is 2.33, then your max stop loss should be less than that, because you always want to make sure that your profits are more than your losses. So just keep that in mind. And I think with that, you can answer your own question, that if you're shooting for 3%, then maybe your losses should be about half of that. Whatever you justify, just know that what I personally like to do is to keep my losses, right? Because that's how you're going to stay in the green. If you see, 2 losses in one green day, you're at least staying, even neutral, right? But if you see 1 green day and 1 red day, you're at least still staying in the green. So realistically, with compounding interest and how growth, plays out, you tend to be a little bit more successful when doing that. So flex those bad boys, says Wise Blood. I'm good, but thank you, man. Ricky, are you going to do live stream tomorrow for trading? I am planning on doing a live stream. So thank you for asking that, Joe. All right, do a front double bicep. I don't know what that is, but can you take a look at? So you guys are asking me to perform technical analysis on certain stocks. Feel free to DM me, and I'll try to do some personally for you guys. But I want to make sure that I don't take too much of your guys' time in something that I can answer individually. All right, so are those stocks the only ones you will look at, or will you be changing your action to another stock? No, that's a really good question, and that is by Mark Johnson. Pretty much that he's asking me, based on the stocks that I perform technical analysis on right now for the Sunday Stock Talk, are those the only ones that I'm going to be following up with during pre-market hours? No, not necessarily. I have a series of stocks that I usually like to focus on based on volume, how during pre-market hours, how they're performing, and then I tend to focus majority on those stocks. These are just stocks that you guys suggested for me to perform, and that I focus on. But no, these are definitely ones that but are not the only ones that I'm going to be focusing on. So I hope that answers your question. And if you join, if you guys subscribe and join our live stream for tomorrow morning, right before the market opens, then you'll most likely see my whole thought process and what it is that I do during pre-market hours. So I just saw it says Stevens says he skipped my question. Let me see if I could find it. I apologize, but I did not mean to skip it. Okay, he's asking me about a stock again. Feel free to DM me and I'll go ahead and answer your question with that. Do you short sell, or do you short selling? I'm thinking you're asking me, do I short sell? And that's by Sebastian or David Murray. I personally don't short sell. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah, but there's a lot of traders within our group that actually do short sell. So feel free to DM me and I'll guide you in the right direction with that. So I hope if I can't personally help you, then at least I can guide you in the right direction. So I am just starting. I don't know where to start. Anyone help? So that's one of the biggest questions. One of the first things once starting out is you need to learn how to trade. You need to get your feet wet. Do simulation trading, paper trading, learn the fundamentals of actually how to properly trade. And then with that, once you've proven to yourself with not real money, but with real experience that you can be successful in this, then you can start implementing, real money. But how is it that you can start? Well, you can ask questions to specific members within a group. You can reach out to me. But we have a series of helpful videos within our YouTube channel that answer frequently asked questions. So I'm not sure if you haven't gotten to those videos, but I'd highly suggest for you to get to that helpful video playlist, and that can answer, I think, a good amount of your guys' questions or stuff like that, especially once starting out. And then if you still have specific questions, feel free to ask it, post it on the Facebook Technical Solutions, Facebook platform, or direct message me or the different, moderators and administrators we have within Technical Solutions. Enter about, I believe, 2 more. Okay, this is by Abraham T. Hi, Ricky. I've been watching your videos for the past 2 weeks. Really helpful for newbies. Thanks. I am nervous to start because I'm a full-time student. What is your best advice? Well, I'm a full-time student. I'm a worker, and then I run a series of different businesses. I day trade, and then I run Technical Solutions. So although I know, being a full-time student is extremely time-consuming, it really comes down to you as the individual on how you, in a sense, just deal with the time. And everyone is given 24 hours. It really comes down to what you make out of it, right? So if you think that you can fit 30 minutes a day to learn about investing, then so be it. Then every day dedicate 30 minutes. And it really comes down to discipline and how bad you want it. So the first thing, again, it comes down to learning, then it comes down to getting your feet wet, experience, and then implementing that with real money, right? So, and if you can see that when you're doing your experience, when you're doing that simulation trading, and you see like, actual return, then know that, you're profitable when it comes to the simulation trading. You're seeing a return. Why not take the next step and actually do it with real money? But for those that saying that, you shouldn't get into penny stocks because it's extremely, risky. 100%, I agree that it's very risky, especially if you don't know what it is that you're doing. But when you're giving access to this free platform, of being able to network with thousands of people and given access to a free platform where they allow you to day trade with no real risk, right? Doing this paper trading, I don't really know what your excuse can be on why you shouldn't get started. And if you guys have a good one, then go ahead and let me know. But obviously, if you're not within the United States or you don't have access to that paper trading platform, then that can be a pretty solid excuse. But other than that, I really don't know what it is that you can encounter. But by Sam the Man, he says, "Hey Ricky, I understand that you like to day trade, but are there any that you've came across that you might feel that you should keep in the long run?" So pretty much about swing trading that I should keep for long, right, or for a longer period of time. I definitely like to use my cash or my money for more day trades because I see a longer return. For more long-term investments, I personally invest in real estate. So I have two properties, working on two properties within hopefully the end of this year, hopefully having four total. And that's where I choose to invest, long. I tend to see a larger return with that, with my own money. But I definitely don't think there's anything wrong, especially with, you know, investing your money. If you don't have enough time for day trading, investing your money and going long in stocks that you identify potential in, because that's an extremely profitable in a sense market. But it really comes down to you on what you find more value in. So um, all right. I think someone is asking, is it really easy? Well, if it was really easy, I think everyone would be extremely rich and extremely profitable. So I don't necessarily think that trading penny stocks is very easy. It's kind of like savings, and this is going to be my final response. Um, the, I, this is going to be my final response. So, is it easy? Well, is saving money easy? I think the concept of saving money is very simple. But why is it so difficult for people to do it? Well, because it takes a lot of discipline and a lot of sacrifice. Just like learning, right? Just like school, and just like being successful in anything. It really comes down to you as an individual to understand and make sense that all this time and all this risk is worth it at the end in the long run. Because I see myself, I see day trading or investing a potential career for myself. If that's you, make a plan, stick to it, and stay consistent. That's all I can say. It is not going to be easy, because is it easy to dedicate 30 minutes every day, especially when real life hits you right in the throat, and things come up and everyone has their own obstacles, but it really comes down to you as the individual and the investor and continue growing. One of the biggest things was, people ask, how I started or how I, saved so much money for, and it's not so much, right? I don't want to say that, but how did I save enough money at a certain age to buy my house, to buy my dream car, which was the GTR, to be driving my, Corvette Z06, and be doing everything that is that I invest in now. And it comes down to a simple concept of, discipline and saving. Um, and being open-minded. I really love to learn. I really love to help people, but I'm very disciplined and I know what it is that I need to do, and I plan it out on how I need to get it done, and I stick to that plan. If you stick to your plan and you create a plan on how you can be successful realistically, on how you personally, with the amount of money you make, if it's saving $10,000, $20,000, $100,000, and realistically you can achieve that based on your current, sources of income or what you can create, and you want to do this, to take your family out for a vacation because you identify that as a form of success, because you want to buy your mom a car, because you want to thank her for everything that she's done for you, because you want to start a platform that can break the barrier for everyone that wants to start investing and make it accessible for everyone. Whatever you identify and formulate as success, learn, plan, execute. That's one of the biggest things. Learn how to do it, plan on how you're going to do it, and stick to that plan. It's discipline. I can't thank you guys enough again for the love and the support. So You guys are so funny. You guys are just providing just funny responses. But again, I can't thank you guys again for the love and the support. The link is going to be provided for you down below. If you guys can like and subscribe, like always, we'd greatly appreciate it. If I can help you guys out any other way, the best way to DM me is through the group chat Tech Bud Solutions platform, to direct message me through that. And that's really just it. Remember, be super pumped, but plan out your success. I can't stress that enough. Thank all your moms for me. Give them a kiss for me. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. I can't thank you guys enough. I know I keep saying that, but it's really true. It's amazing that at a point, I believe 210 people watching live, and giving their own time and dedicating it to me. So time to be an extremely valuable thing, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. So thank you guys again. Hope you guys take care, and we'll see you guys during pre-market hours tomorrow morning. Thank you.